course, we are extremely honored to have the opening remarks from our Executive Secretary, Amy Frankel. So I will call her to the stage to give some remarks. Amy, please.
Thank you very much. I think I will stand. It's nice. First, I'm very, very happy to be here. And since I'm from the Americas, it's also very personal to me that we're launching this today. Now, first I want to say, what is America's Flyways, plural? And I think many of you who work in this area know it's not just a single flyway. In fact, if you look at the whole hemispheric scale, there's 3 flyways that are recognized: the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the mid-continent in the interior. There's also movement longitudinally, but what is amazing is if you look at the migrations, Brazil is right in the middle of it when those birds are migrating. So it's incredibly important for us to be here and talking about this. I remember I had the fortune of being in Florianopolis where we started talking about this with the bird experts, and I like to tell people, I'm a diver, I'm a hiker, but in my heart of hearts, I'm a bird nerd. So this is really coming to my core. The other important fact is that the Americas flyways span 56 countries and 622 migratory bird species, many of which are experiencing significant population declines, which really underscores the importance of our coordinated action, and this is part of what we're here to talk about today. So we're very proud to launch this new Atlas of the Americas Flyways. It is a new tool, yes, and if the tech can please, thank you very much, Renata. It's going to be a tool that strengthens science policy, which will inform decision makers and planners, conservation managers on what they need to be doing and priority areas for migratory bird conservation. As I mentioned already, with this COP taking place here, kind of in the center where the birds, the crossroads for these flyways, I think it's really ideal that this is happening now. As Yvonne said, this is the first in the Americas type of instrument that we have done, and I want to recognize that we're doing this in partnership with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which I am so thrilled to have as a partner in this. And we just talked, Chris and I, briefly about how we should build on that partnership. For any of you fellow bird nerds, you know about eBird and Merlin and the other incredible work that is going on in Cornell, and that is underpinning this atlas today. So what does the atlas do? You're going to hear from the experts, but briefly, it identifies key migration, breeding, and non-breeding areas for CMS Appendix 1 and 2 species across the Americas. And again, this is going to help the countries to prioritize action where it matters most. Now, a number of migratory birds, such as the remarkable but threatened Hudsonian godwit, and if you've been reading the press about this COP, that species was featured, had its own article about its incredible journey and the threats that it's facing. And that's being proposed for listing at this COP. So this new tool will enable a better understanding of the movements of these species, and again, important habitat that might merit further conservation efforts. I want to draw your attention to the interim report that the CMS Secretariat released at this COP on the state of the world's migratory species, and it found that 18 migratory shorebirds have undergone severe population declines, largely due to destruction, fragmentation, or degradation of habitat. The buff-breasted sandpiper, which is covered by the atlas, migrating thousands of kilometers from the Arctic breeding grounds to South America, is among them. So, what we're finding is there's pressures, there's declines, and this atlas could not come at a more important time. So it's based on citizen science data, and that, by the way, echoes the theme of World Migratory Bird Day, which is a campaign that CMS and its partners lead. And that theme was "Every bird counts, your observations matter." So it's really wonderful to be able to follow that year of the World Migratory Bird Day with this example of how we're using a fellow bird nerd, citizen science, to help the birds that we all care about so much. In conclusion, this launch in Brazil sends a clear message that protecting migratory birds requires shared responsibility, shared data, and shared actions across an entire flyway. So I'm very excited to see these presentations. I want to say congratulations to all involved, to Yvonne, who leads our avian team, who's been incredibly excited about this, and to Rob Clay, who has also been leading this work as one of our COP-appointed counselors for bird species. Just congratulations and thanks for your investment in this, and let's launch.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I think that you really nailed some of the points that I wanted to do. So I'm just going to take it easy. It's only 5 minutes on my side. Hopefully this is going to work. Maybe not. Can I just get the next slide, please? No. Don't worry, the atlas is online. It's working, okay? This is just a PowerPoint. It's going to be fine. That's a spoiler. That's for later. Okay. Is this the one? Can I use this pointer or you will be... Yeah? Okay, so sorry for that, a small glitch, but I promise you that the atlas is working. We tested it. I just have 5 slides because I think it's important that I give some context to you in terms of why we are doing this. And of course, we need to start from the very basics, which is that flyways are an essential part of the work of the CMS Convention. This is how we organize our work in terms of migratory birds and how they move across continents. And you can see in this small picture, well, small, you can see how birds move across all continents, all regions, and this is just, a quick snapshot about how important it is for us to see where birds go to and actually how they can help us to connect communities, countries, regions, and much more. And this is the base of the work of the CMS for many, many years, and I promise that I won't have a lot of text, but I needed to say some things about the mandate that underpins this work. The Americas Flyways, as already said by Amy, is a huge area, 622 migratory species, 56 countries. and as I said before, 33 of these species are globally threatened. This is an area that requires of our attention and our cooperation. And that is why already in COP11, and this mandate has been renewed over the time, the CMS parties decided to establish the Americas Flyways Framework, which is an instrument that promotes cooperation, that puts together parties to discuss how to better enhance conservation of migratory species, and birds in particular. So the Atlas on Animal Migration is just one another step within a framework that we also launched at COP11, already in 2014. That is the development of an Atlas of Animal Migration. It's an activity that is now part of our current program of work, and the mandate has been renewed ever since. The various Atlas modules that you can already check on the internet on our website provide parties and practitioners really good tools to understand animal movement. And so, as already mentioned by Amy Frankel, this is a critical moment to understand about animal movement. The State of the World's Migratory Species Report, the update that we launched this week here in Campo Grande, really tells us that we do need to act. We need to do it now 26 CMS-listed species face a higher risk of extinction, and shorebirds in particular, and shorebirds are critical for many flyways in the Americas, are suffering. Their extinction level is going up, their threats are still there, and we need to understand how to tackle that and how to make sure that parties and stakeholders are talking together and putting solutions. So that is why we need to have an idea about where do they go and actually how to make sure that citizen science in this particular case provides that data on the key areas. And as you can see also from the report, 47% of the areas are not conserved areas. We need to act and we need to do it now. And this is not a mistake, this is not a blank slide, or it is, but it is because this is the one before the last on my side. I want you to think about the mandate and why we are here and about the fact that we have parties working on cooperation. And then I want you to take your mobile phone, because everybody has got a mobile phone these days. And I think this is the beauty of this atlas, because through two simple things, eBird or Merlin, you can take your phone, just record when you're going for a walk, and then have beautiful things like these ones. And this is why we're launching this atlas and why we think citizen science does make a difference, because we're being able to merge from really complex policy things to just going for a walk and actually having data that is really useful for conservation. So I stop it here because I'm not the expert on the atlas. I give it to you, Chris. I'm really happy to have you with us, and I have to thank Cornell University for the extremely good work and also for your passion into this, so you can explain to the audience how the atlas works.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here with everybody. I'm going to switch over and sit down so that you can look at the screen. One of the things when you're at an event like this is the focus on the policy and the implications of all the work that we're working on together. But sometimes I like to just step back and just think about migration. It's one of the wonders of natural history. Every year there are billions of birds, billions with a B, that are flying across the Americas, crossing wetlands, forests, mountains. These journeys connect places like the Pantanal with the Cerrado, with the Amazon, with the Llanos, into a single living system. And what happens in one place matters in another, often thousands of kilometers away. But these movements also make migration incredibly difficult to understand. Where are species at any point in time? What are the places that matter most? Where should we conserve? Until now. What you're looking at here is a distribution map of fork-tailed flycatcher. Red is the breeding season, mid-November to the end of March. Yellow is migration. Blue, a few places where they are in non-breeding season. And purple is where they can be found year-round. Sometimes residents are joined by migratory birds in the Llanos of Venezuela, for instance. And as you know, many of our most threatened species, Is there a delay, or are we using, is it linked to this presentation? This is also a PowerPoint. The atlas is still live and working. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see in the next slide. What we're going to look at is cerulean warbler. Cerulean warbler is it's an Appendix 1 species, and it's a perfect example of the challenges. This is a small forest songbird that does not look like a fork-tailed flycatcher. It's blue above, white below, and it's small. It's 8.6 grams. This is a bird that if you took 20 of these little warblers, remember the phone that you just took out? 20 of these birds would weigh less than your phone. And yet these birds are able to go from the Andes to stage in Central America in the 5 great forests, and then migrate up to the eastern US, southeast Canada. And we have a slide that shows that in a level of detail that was never before available, and maybe not available now either. But you can imagine that it is a spectacular migration that is happening. One of the other things that we'll look at that I think another thing is, you heard a lot about how this is Cornell University and Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's important to emphasize that this is a collaborative effort. The data that are used for this are going into eBird. The idea to expand, oh, there we go. So there it is, the beautiful cerulean warbler, 1/20th of the weight of your phone. And what you're going to see is the migration of this species. So right now it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We'll watch it one more time because we waited for a while. Again, this little tiny bird, and these birds are not being taught in the cases of cranes or geese. This is innate. Somehow when they hatch, they know innately how to do this. It's just amazing. And so let's pause and just think about how cool it is that we live in a world where you can step outside and literally see birds that, in the case of Veery, may be wintering here, and then come up into my backyard in the US. Birds have a way of connecting us that is truly inspirational. We can then take that data and pull it together to create these types of visualizations that really Here we go. Happiness is plan B. Mic drop. Basically what you're able to see is what are the most important areas on the wintering grounds, which is the blue areas, where the important areas are in migration, and where the species is breeding. This level of detail allows you to understand when and where areas need to be protected. And so I think it's important that we also understand how these data are actually gathered. And this is part of what's so exciting. To me, it's that we're using a technology platform to engage literally millions of people around the world to activate them and take their phones out, record what they're seeing, and then develop actionable science and use frameworks like the CMS to allow us then to deliver the most important information on the places that are critical to allow us to have conservation impact on the ground. And as I was saying before, this is not a Cornell Lab only initiative. This is a collaboration that involves hundreds of organizations around the world that are working together. And doing this is incredibly challenging work because there's a lot of things that we need to get right. Some of them are fairly simple, right? We need to know what to call the name of a bird in different places. And for something like a barn swallow, there's 120 different common names. So just managing the taxonomy and the names, understanding how we deal with data quality, how we engage people around the world. These are all the things that this network of collaborators and partners around the world are doing. But the heart of it, is really bird nerds, right? People that are inspired by birds who contribute data, usually for no other reason other than the birds. They love birds. They have fun recording what they see. They like to take photos. Here in Brazil, Wiki Aves, this amazing database of photos. Incredible, just the way that birds bring us together. And they also know, and I think get value of being able to see that through things like CMS, their observations can have impact now. And that's what's so exciting. I wanted to share just one example, particularly that we're in the Pantanal, of somebody who's one of the participants. There's over 1 million people who participate in eBird. There's 1 million stories, right, of why people do. I wanted to talk about Angel Castillo because he is somebody who is an indigenous person in a Mayan community of Xosen in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. He started using eBird as part of a payment for ecosystem services that Canabio was running. He was seeing some cool birds, and for fun, he was uploading photos of black catbird, of tropical royal flycatcher. And because we have these profile pages in eBird, bird watchers who are traveling to the Yucatan started seeing that he was seeing these really, really cool birds. They reached out to him and said, "Hey, Angel, could you take us around your community and show us the birds that you're seeing?" Now Angel and that community are receiving 25 times more funding through these ecotourism operations than they are through the initial payments for ecosystem services. So there are ways of connecting these different types of tools that really benefit communities, and then that community has decided and come up with ways of how they want to use that money. 50% of the money going to educational programs, 20% of the money going toward infrastructure to continue tourism, and then the remaining money going to the individual guides. And so it represents a tremendous opportunity to connect bird watchers with individuals in a community. The Pantanal is such a great place for this to expand out. So together, thanks to people like Angel, there are more than 2 billion observations that are in eBird. This is a representation of where we have data right now. This is a very complicated data set, right? You have lots of different people contributing. And a lot of the work in the last 15 to 20 years have really been developing the methods to analyze these data, really the interface of statistics and computer science, linking these data with remote sense data to allow us to make inferences of places where we have less data or no data, really understand where birds are at a very, very fine spatial scales. Tom Auer is here. He's the person who leads our science engineering team and directly responsible for managing all of this work. And it's sort of his vision, Daniel Fink's vision, the scientists that are working on this that have made all of this possible. So here is a view of the atlas, finally. And what we're looking at is really concentration areas. We think of these as bird concentration areas, critical hotspots that sustain migratory birds at different stages of their annual cycle. And you'll see that there's at the top left, there's a link to Appendix 1 and Appendix 2, so you can look at both of those different groups of species. There's also links next to each of these species. So that cerulean warbler animation that you saw, you can click on the link to see that individual species animation. This is aggregating across lots of species so that you're able to see the most important areas across a whole suite of species. You may be interested in understanding what the impact is or what the conservation threats are. If you click on the link, it goes to the Birds of the World. Birds of the World, in this case, in the conservation section, is really a collaboration between BirdLife International, their network of in-country partners here in Brazil, Save Brazil, to really connect the best information that's known about what the threats are and what actions need to be taken. So you can get that directly from this link. You can zoom in and out. So here is a perspective across the Americas of what areas are most important. You can zoom in and really understand the importance of certain regions. So what a great, it's definitely not a coincidence that we're here in Campo Grande, the gateway to the Pantanal. In terms of migratory species, you see the tremendous importance of the Pantanal for migratory species. This is the URL up at the top. Everybody is welcome to go to the site now. It's live and working. And with no further ado, I'd like to invite Rob Clay up to talk about some of what the opportunities are for CMS with this atlas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for being here. You'll be pleased to know I don't have any slides to show, so there's no technology freezing. It is cold enough in the room that my brain may freeze, so apologies for that in advance. Just a couple of words. Firstly, I mean, this is such an exciting, momentous occasion and so timely. For those of you who are in the Committee of the Whole earlier this morning, hopefully you heard the, let's try this. Oh, I can stand up. There we go. So for those of you who are in the Committee of the Whole this morning, hopefully you heard the parties in the region, in the Americas, I hope this is okay to say, committing to developing an initiative, a CMS initiative, to support the implementation of the Americas Flyways framework, which first came into existence at the previous conference of the parties in the Americas, in Quito, Ecuador. So to have that political commitment now is particularly exciting and timely, and to have it combined with a tool which greatly facilitates how we can visualize the movements of CMS appendix listed species is incredibly important. We've heard many times during the past few days how migratory birds connect us and the importance of that and messaging around that in these particularly challenging times for multilateral cooperation. Having said that, it's very easy to say migratory birds connect us. It's a little bit more challenging to really get people from outside of our little bird nerdy world to really understand that. This is just the sort of tool which enables that to happen. I mean, when the cerulean warbler finally started to migrate, in this room, people who know about it were all, oh, wow, you could hear that. And so the power of this tool to communicate beyond our community is incredibly important. I'll use a little example. Many years ago, I migrated to Paraguay, where I'm not originally from, but most of my career has been based there. There were just a few of us bird nodes back in those early days, and at one point I was asked by the Ministry of the Environment, really when one of the first avian influenza outbreaks occurred, I was asked, where are the migratory birds in the country? And I literally hand-colored in a map of Paraguay and sent it back. It was partly tongue-in-cheek, but it was also reflecting our level of knowledge. Also the fact that migratory birds are everywhere, that's one of the beauties of them, but it wasn't a very useful contribution at that time, but it reflected what we know, what we knew then. Now, thanks to these tools, we have the ability to actually home in on particular priority areas for species of concern. So just as, as one example, the next avian influenza outbreak, fingers crossed there won't be one, but we now have a way to look immediately online and identify areas of concern. So again, just an example of the value I see of this sort of tool. And then lastly, for me, one of the biggest challenges with these gatherings is how do you take what happens here and step it down to the local level, and at the same time, how do you take what's at the local level and inform global policy? Here is an answer. Mobilizing all of the bird nerds in the world, even the more sort of old school ones. I have nothing against technology, but I still love using my notebook to jot down the birds. So not always on the phone, you can do it on your notebook and then later put it into eBird on your computer. But that ability to mobilize so many people and then show them how their data are helping to make a difference, how this can all be brought together in platforms such as this atlas and actually inform policy decisions at the local, at the regional, and at the global scale. That to me is incredibly powerful, really speaks to just how important this tool is. And well, I take the opportunity to thank Cornell, to thank the Secretariat team for putting this together. And well, hopefully the next step is a global atlas using the same technology. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you for your commitment, because I can see an example of somebody who has been in the field but now is enjoying with us, the meetings of the COP and helping us to launch an initiative with the parties in the region. So we go to our next speaker, and I'm really honored to have with us João Paulo Capobianco. He's the Executive Secretary of the Brazilian Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, and he would like also to give a perspective of your country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for this incredible presentation. Congratulations for your capacity to deal with this situation with a very interesting position. Thank you very much for that. It's incredible. It's amazing momentum, and I'm very happy to be here. As a presiding over the COP15 means more than guiding an international agenda. It means advancing a vision of multilateral cooperation that brings together shared science, political responsibility, and concrete commitments to the future of the life in our planet. Today, you take a decisive step in that direction. The America's Flyways Atlas is a milestone. For the first time, we have at our disposal a tool that reveals with unprecedented clarity and precision the migratory routes and key sites upon which the survival of birds across the Americas depends. This is not merely a technical achievement. It's a new foundation for political action. By making visible the ecological corridors that connect our biomes, from the Arctic tundra to Brazil's coastal zones, from the Andes to southern cone, the Atlas presents us with an undeniable truth. Conserving migratory birds, it's only possible through coordination actions among countries. The scale of the challenge is clear. There are more than 961 migratory bird species connecting the ecosystems and communities across the entire Western Hemisphere, crossing dozens of jurisdictions within a single annual cycle. In this context, international cooperation is not optional, it is essential. We already have important instruments under the Convention. The CMS America's Flyways Framework and Action Plans sets out a clear path for migratory bird conservation in the region. However, progress to date has been uneven. Limited resources and, above all, gaps in government leadership have hindered more constant advance. This is where the Atlas becomes strategic. It provides government with a robust evidence base to translate international commitments into effective public policy. Because ultimately, it's the governments that hold the mandate to establish and manage the protected areas, implement species action plans, ensure ecological connectivity, and enforce measures against threats. No other actor can replace this role. But leadership requires action. The launch of this atlas should mark the beginning of a new phase, one that is more robust, more coordinated, more ambitious, a phase in which scientific knowledge is translated into political decisions and tangible outcomes on the ground. In this regard, initiatives such as support from BirdLife International, which will dedicate staff over the next 3 years to strengthen the America's Flyway Task Force, are essential. They show that a strong foundation for cooperation is already in place. What we need now is to scale up this effort into a truly systematic approach. As president of COP15, CMS COP15, we want to seize a unique opportunity to champion a stronger intergovernmental institution framework for the America's Flyway, to mobilize countries around a shared vision, and to ensure that the political momentum generated by this conference translates into lasting, coordinated conservation action. The America's Flyways Atlas shows us the way. It's now up to us, government and partners, to follow it with determination. Thank you and congratulations.
Muito obrigado. Thank you so much, Mr. Capobianco. So I think we are doing well with time. We have 5 minutes before we close this event, and I just wanted to make sure that if anybody has got any questions about the tool, we have here the experts to answer any all those difficult questions. If we have one, I don't know if we have another microphone or if you can get close to some of the existing ones. No? A bit tricky.
Chris, the question is for you. I was wondering, while seeing the movement of the migration, that it works really well for land birds, but I was thinking of shorebirds and how they cross the oceans and the Caribbean Sea especially, and I understand that with eBird we cannot get the data. Is there any intention in the future, have you guys thought about including tracking data so that we could actually see that? I can see one thing of importance. One is that Rob mentioned about people understanding that birds fly over the ocean and the importance of that. But also, for example, they cross hurricanes, and with climate change that tends to increase, and that would be a useful information for us to think about those actions.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question. Absolutely. You know, Autumn and I were actually just talking about this before, that there's a real need to expand on, you know, we're using citizen science data in the best way that we can. We have a lot of other technology available. So, right, being able to look at what individual birds are doing is important. There's a lot of work around bioacoustics right now and thinking about how acoustics can fit into this. So there's a lot of work that I think this entire community needs to do to come together and figure out how to pull together the best of these and then ensure that those data are integrated into models that then can flow into pathways that allow decision makers to actually have the impact that they need. And so I promise you that, you know, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology will do everything we can to lead in and be a part of that community and make that happen.
Thank you so much for that question. I can see that we are launching the Atlas today and we're already thinking about the next steps. That's ambition. I like it. Maybe one more question before we close the event. Sorry.
It's about the next steps. What is planned? And we want to contribute with the data that we have here in Brazil to fill in a lot of these parts of South America that we need more data.
I think the next step is for us to figure out exactly how to do that, right? Whether it's data from Wikiavis, whether it's data from acoustic recording units, whether it's data from scientists, figuring out ways to pool these data. Let's find the time to connect here or afterward to figure out exactly how we need to do this. We know that this is one important type of sensor network. We need to figure out the ways to do that. We've been doing some initial thinking about how to pool together acoustic data with eBird data. There's a lot more work that needs to be done.
Well, thank you so much. I know that it's a busy agenda, so before we all break up, I just wanted to make sure that we take a picture of all of us. But I just wanted to say one little thing. We keep talking about bird nerds, but this is actually not only for bird nerds. If you go to your app and you download Merlin, there is a microphone, you go outside, it will identify the birds for you, and it still counts for the Atlas. So, I mean, make sure that we promote this because everybody can help us understanding where the birds go. Thank you so much to all of you for your participation, for engagement. Again, thank you so much to Cornell and to Rob and Amy, of course, and Mr. Capobianco for being here. It's important for us that we launched this. It's the first step. We did as much as we could, but I'm sure that we can do much more. So yes, please go to the website and support this work. Thank you so much. Obrigado, obrigado.
Chris, let's take a picture. We are part of that. I'm so proud. And thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot. But we are in Brazil, sorry, not in Panama. No, I'm thinking on this like promoting us crazy keyword. Now we have enough information, huh? Some more. Another side of there.
Yeah, let's get a little photo together.
Gracias.
You actually know this Lebanese working on bus stops in Australia.
Okay. Right, they wrote there yesterday.
I met him in Pakistan at his workshop.
All right.
Yeah, nice guy.
They
Clever,
tried
smart.
to use it, right?
So there's actually
Yeah.
several different
So there was heavy duty.